Good. So let's get in there. It's wonderful to meet you again. Thank you for taking a minute out for the program. I appreciate it.
No problem.
So before we get into your life as as an author, as a safety expert, I want to begin with 6 years ago. This pandemic was changing everything about our world. How did you get through that era, and how has it changed the way that you live and work today?
I was fortunate enough to not be down except maybe 1 week while my contractor was trying to figure out what they were going to do to make the preparations and to continue through this pandemic. So I just had, a week off. But after that contractor, I ended up in Alaska working. And to say that the flying was great because there was, a third of the people on the plane. But the whole testing was a whole new dynamic that everybody had to get used to. I had to test 3 days before I left. I had to test when I got to the airport, my final destination in Fairbanks, and then I had to test again before I went on the job site. So in like 4 days, I'd had, you know, 3 or 4 COVID tests. Never got COVID, so that was great. But it really changed our thought process and how we had to approach not only the job but safety because you had to wear the masks. And I don't know if you've ever been to Alaska, but it was getting into winter time. So having to wear a face mask and then deal with the cold and trying to get things done. And you have to be in close proximity with people on some of these projects. So it was really different and it was really hard to maintain the 6 feet away and have meetings. We did a lot of Zoom meetings and by phone call and stuff. So but yeah, it was different.
Yeah.
um Lot of changes in the safety world because of that.
For sure. So let's get into your world of safety. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of 13-year-olds at career day, and one of the kids wants to know
Okay,
what you do for a living. How do you explain your job to the kids?
so I am on construction sites. That's mainly my industry that I'm in. And I make sure that the people on the job are doing their job as safe as they can, that they are wearing their PPE. So their hard hat, their safety glasses, their high vis vests if they have to have them, hearing protection if they need it, because a lot of this equipment and some of the things they do require hearing protection so they don't hurt their ears. Um, Safety glasses are a big problem on the job. Uh, Gloves, making sure they've got gloves on, that kind of thing. And also making sure that they have what they need to complete their job while they are doing it. So if they need extra PPE or they need um, permits, so like confined space permits to get down in a hole where they don't aren't normally at, or a hot work permit because they are going to do some welding or some cutting with a grinder, then I help facilitate those.
So talk to me a little bit about what you wanted to be when you were that age. When you were at career day at 12 or 13, what was your dream job?
College history professor.
Nice. So how did we get here? Take me back to where you were born and raised. What were the seeds that were planted? How did you evolve to this place professionally?
So my dad was a contractor when I was little, built houses and did a lot of odds and ends for family remodeling. And so I kind of came up in the construction world, honestly. I was 9 or 10 and I'd be looking at his blueprints, and he'd be like, put those away. And I'm like, no, I'm interested. I want to look at this and figure out. Um, So it's always been there in the back of my mind. Um, then as I got older, I was wanted to stay in construction. I mean, I was always helping do odd jobs at the house. My brother and I built a fort with leftover wood that Dad would bring home to use for a project, while my brother and I would snag it and we'd use it for a project, you know. So
Yeah.
we always had tools around. And Dad would take us to job sites and stuff too. So that was always that was always fun. When I got a little older, I did go to college, got a 2 year bookkeeping accounting diploma, and I did that for a construction company for a while, and I absolutely hated it. I was great for the knowledge and how to do that kind. I couldn't stand being in the office. So I ended up getting out, going to work with my dad and my brother. We formalized our company. I was the president and CEO, and we did that for a couple of years. And looking back, I really wish we'd have done it sooner. It's really taught me a lot of both sides of the construction phase of being the owner and project manager, estimator, payroll, the whole 9 yards, project management. We all went our separate ways, and I got into the ironworkers. I started out as a laborer while I was trying to get into the ironworker union, and I did that for 10 years. So I started out in Minnesota, where I was born and raised, on a farm, and worked my way through. Lived in South Dakota, Texas, ended up in Indiana, and in my mid 30s, I went back to get my safety degree because I couldn't hardly move on a job anymore, bending over, tying rebar all the time. And so I was the mom in the class, got my degree at IU, and took my withdrawal from the union in April '08, graduated with my bachelor's in May of '08, and went to work for the company I'm still working for in June of '08. So '08 was a really big year for me.
Yeah.
And I've been doing construction safety now for 20 years.
So, who's been that inspiration for you, that hero in your life?
My dad always was, but I've had some really great mentors over the years. One of them has passed away now, but he taught me a lot about construction management and how things worked. And then I had another one in the safety world. He has since retired, but it our we clicked instantly, um, where safety was concerned, and even just as human beings in a mutual world. And I mean, still to this day, I can call him up, and it's just like I talked to him yesterday, and we're still able to bounce things off each other. But yeah, I've had some really great mentors and really help me see the bigger picture sometimes, because as we all know, in our day jobs, sometimes we can get really narrow focused on what we're doing and forget about the greater project or the greater world of what's evolving around us.
We're surrounded by construction projects all the time, from residential homes to buildings to everything around us is getting built at some point. What's your favorite construction project building of all time? What's up there on the list of something that you admire?
I think our military contracts, that I work for a contractor that they handle military contracts, and just being in that world is so great. My dad was in the Navy. He was in Vietnam, and that's the one thing I regret, is not going into service. Um, by the time I really realized I wanted to do it, I was too old. So I didn't get to do it. So I really enjoy dealing with our military personnel and our veterans, because to me, that's my way of giving back to them and to serve our country is to help maintain their facilities. And those are probably my favorite projects to work on. Um, I I I love any construction project because they're always interesting. Sorry,
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
always interesting. Um, and you learn something new every day. I mean, like I said, I've been doing safety for 20 years. I was in construction hands-on for 14, and I still learn things every day about different processes or projects or what's going on. So it's always a good learning experience.
You know, one of the biggest tragedies that Kansas City ever had, I was a kid. Do you remember when that skywalk collapsed in Kansas City? Did you ever hear about that at the Hyatt?
I'm sure I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the things I just think about safety because right now during my day job, we're getting ready to move into a new building and I had to put all of the hard hat and the equipment. Like you couldn't get anywhere near the site until you did that. And I just think about
Right.
all of the potential hazards that are around you all the time. I mean, there's always something that can happen on a site, right? I mean, because and then you think, well, companies are spending a lot of money to have someone come in for safety, but if someone gets hurt, the insurance and the all, everything,
Yeah.
right? It's just it's very necessary to have extra layers of safety because it just saves an enormous amount of headache for everybody. So,
Yeah. That's go ahead.
no, no, go ahead. No, you're good.
Um, that's one thing people don't understand about safety, especially in construction. Fortunately, I have a very high risk tolerance. So I can look at a project and go, okay, those guys are all right. I know what they're doing. I know what their process is. But the general public will look at what they're doing and go, oh my God, why are they doing that? And nobody's doing anything. And so their risk tolerance is a whole lot different level. So I really have to step back and make sure, that they're doing these things because the cost of not doing that, like you were saying, just if there's an accident, I mean, it can sink a project
Yep.
depending on what's going on. So things as minor as, equipment inspections, soil stability, depending on what the project is, those are your biggest hazards sometimes. So just making sure that that stuff is covered. But I get a lot of grief on jobs. Well, you don't do anything. You just walk around. And I'm like, hey, if I have to do something, we have a problem.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah. No news is good news. So, talk to me a little bit about your book, The Hands That Built This. Talk to me about what brought this book about. What are you hoping the reader gets from it?
so when I came up with this book, it just hit me all at once. I had been paying attention to Mike Rowe and what he was doing and talking about, and really starting to point out that, our workforce really is falling behind. And this was 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now. And, we need to be getting kids into these types of jobs and into the apprenticeship and show them that there is another way. And I'm not bashing college at all. We need those people. We need the classically trained doctors, lawyers, accountants, geologists, whatever. But there are kids that do not do well in college. And once they were out of high school, they're like, oh, just let me go to work. So I really started paying attention to that. And I was seeing it, noticing it more and more on job sites. We don't have a lot of young people um, on the job sites. And the more I listened, the more this book was popping into my head. And so I did some research with the help of AI, of course. Um, And between that and myself, my personal experience and talking to friends, I put this book together in like 6 weeks, all 10 chapters. Um, and the biggest thing is, the huge misconception about trades work is that, oh, that's a fallback. If you're in the trades, must mean you failed at something. Well, no, that's not the case. There are guys that are fantastic with their hands. My cousins, man, they build cabinets for custom cabinets and stuff for the homes that they build, and they are brilliant at it. Did they go to college? No. They learned on the job. They did everything. It was just innate, and that was their creativity. So the construction world, trades, um, as a second plan or plan B is not true. It can be a first choice. It's very much a viable first choice career. And there are guys that make really good money doing it. Um, some of them stay on their tools their whole career. Others move into entrepreneurship where they um, start their own company, whether it's general contracting or specialized like kitchens and bathrooms or roofing or siding. And then there's guys that stay with the company for years and years, but they move up as, a general foreman, a project manager, a field engineer, estimator, whatever it may be. Um, and I think our high schools are really doing a disservice to those students that, they're not, they don't want to go to college. And I think their high schools need to start saying, oh yeah, there is this other world for those that are not college bound, and they don't. It's always been the case.
So let me ask you a question. You've watched your dad in the construction world. It's obviously a male-dominated industry. And as a woman coming in with advice and making sure everything's good, has it gotten easier over the years? I would like to think we've evolved as human beings where gender isn't such a big deal in the world of construction and otherwise. But I say that because I remember seeing a documentary on Sally Ride, the astronaut, and about all that she went through as one of the first female astronauts. So I think about you being in this world that's primarily male dominated. What's your take after being in this industry for all these years? Is it accurate that that's the way it is, or is there some myths that you can debunk?
It's still very much a male dominated world. Women in construction as a whole are still only trending about 11 to 15%. So that's been consistent over 20, 30 years. Because we just have more guys that do the work. So the number of women just never seems to go up. But as the trend as far as construction as a whole, they're kind of migrating at the same level. Um, has it gotten easier? I think not so much easier, but more tolerant. Um, I was in the Ironworkers, and that is one of the hardest ones to be in, trades to be in as a woman, because it's very physical. Boilermakers, very physical. Um, Jobs like the electricians or the plumbers and steam fitters, yeah, that's physical, but that's a lot more welding. Electricians, a lot more running wire and knowing, being able to follow a blueprint and things like that. Um, what I have found is you will see a lot more women in the electricians, because it's more meticulous work. Uh, I see women in the Boilermakers and the Ironworkers, and they are mostly welders. And I've heard this from random people over the years, and I've seen it, and it's true that women welders are more meticulous, they're slower, they take more time, and they are a lot better welders. I know some really good male welders too, but they will even tell you, women just have more patience. Um, I have a friend of mine, and she did a blurb for me in the book about women in construction, that she's a welder. And that's mostly what she did her whole ironworker career. She has now transitioned over to the electricians because they needed welders. And she's like, sure, I'll go do that. I'm still welding. It's just a little easier.
Yeah.
It's not as hard on the body.
Yeah.
But yeah, um, no, the one thing that hasn't changed is, using facilities on the job site. There's only one and everybody uses it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. If you ran into the 18-year-old version of you in a dream tonight, and you walked in and there was a film projector and you clicked play, and your life, a 60-second highlight reel came up, would you believe that your life turned out this way?
No, I wouldn't. It really evolved. If I could go back to being 18, knowing what I know now, and we all say that, I would have got into the union right away. I didn't get in until I was 27. I would have probably still gotten into the ironworkers, maybe the carpenters, because I knew that because of working with my dad. Um, but I would have done it right out of high school. Um, the beauty of it is I could have retired from the union at 48, 50 and still had a second career. So, I mean, it's just there knowing that um, makes a big difference in how you plan your life. But, like I said, they don't talk about construction trades, when you're getting out of high school. They don't even bring it up. The beauty of apprenticeship now, there are a lot of industries that are moving into apprenticeship type learning, earn as you learn um, programs. Uh, Nursing is going more to that, not just college or a 2-year degree, but an earn as you learn. Safety in the state of Washington has a safety apprenticeship. Um, Manufacturing is really opening up to more earn as you learn apprenticeships also, because the technology has gotten so much better over the years that you really need to teach them hands on from a basic level and, groom them into handling these high tech programs. Um, Look at the AI industry right now. Even those tech jobs are, trying to move towards more of an apprenticeship type thing because things have gotten so specialized. The beauty of construction, though, is you can't AI it out.
No.
There isn't you there is no AI program that can come in and rewire your house or fix a foundation.
Yeah.
So it's a really technology resistant occupation, but there's still a place for your technologically inclined construction workers, the surveyors, the well, even your designers, for pipe fitting, for electrical work, even the AI um, industry in the data centers, because everything is so meticulous and it needs to go a certain way. We use a lot of drones in construction now too. And those operators need to know what they're doing and how to read that equipment.
So, if on that highlight reel that was shown on the wall, out of all of that, what are you the proudest of? What are you the happiest about?
I think my career in safety, because it is the longest running thing I've ever done. We all have those little stints that we've done over the years. Um, but I have really enjoyed it. If I didn't love what I do, I'd have been looking for something else a long time ago. Um, I get to be on different projects. That's the beauty of working with the company that I've been with for the last 18 years, is the fact that it kind of works like the union hall did. I get done with a project, they send me to another project. So I get my satisfaction there as far as, okay, I'm done with this project, just send me someplace else to, I get to travel. Um, the older I get, the more it takes to recover from travel. But I'm constantly flying coast to coast because I currently live in Florida.
Okay.
And so I'm spend a lot of time on the West Coast these last couple of years. So, and even in Alaska. And when I fly up there, it's a 20-hour day.
Wow, I bet. So the hands that built this is your book. If anybody wants to reach out, any of the good business, get a copy. Where do they go?
So you can find it on Amazon and on Barnes and Noble. And you can also find it on my website, pierceauthor.com. And you'll also find my fiction books and some other books that I've written under different pen names.
Okay, wonderful. Kim, this has been great. Thank you so much for taking a minute out. Best of luck with everything. Travel well.
Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate it.
You bet.